Okay, so let's get on to this. So Marathon is officially out. It's been a couple of days since it's been released. It's been 2 days since it's been officially launched, because it came out on the 5th of March and today is the 7th. So at the moment, the all-time player peak is 88,000 players, and there are currently 63,000 players at the moment. And it seems to drop off every now and then, right? I suppose when people maybe go to bed or go work, it seems to go to the lowest. The lowest it seems to go to is 30,000. Then it peaks to about maybe 80,000, and then it drops down again to about 30,000. So there's 63,000 playing it right now, it's a big number. It's a big number. It's not a huge number. It's not a huge solid chunk. I don't know if it will be enough for Sony to continue Marathon, because I think Sony bought. What did Sony buy Bungie for? Like, what was it, 4 billion or whatever it was? So, I don't think this game's made that much money, and with only about between 60 to 80,000 players playing it every day, obviously, and so far it's only been out for 2-3 days. I don't know if in Sony's eyes they'll be like, yeah, this is a successful game. Who knows? Maybe in a year's time or 2 years' time, Marathon could be shut down, or maybe even Sony will be like, well, Destiny 2 has not been that great. I mean, it's had some hits and misses, and Marathon is got nowhere near the player count that we was assuming it would. So maybe Sony might actually downsize Bungie. Maybe Sony might get rid of a lot of people in Bungie and downsize them to a smaller studio, because Bungie have not really put out many games in the last couple of years, and Destiny, like I said, had some big highs and it's had some big lows as well, and a lot of players have left Destiny 2 as well. And then Marathon, only getting around 60,000 players at the moment, and this is only 2 days after launch as well, which is not probably what Sony's projecting. Sony probably wanted, like, ARC Raiders type player count, or they probably was hoping for like maybe 150 players, like a steady stream, or like maybe around 150 players playing it, in an all-time player count of like 270 or something. But the thing is as well, if you go back to my first video I done on Marathon, I did say, and I was right about this, I did say it'll be a flop, right? In some people's eyes, and maybe in Sony's eyes, it will be a flop, but it won't be as bad, or it won't be nowhere near Concord and Highguard. I always said this, right? I always said this. And if we compare Marathon, right, to a couple of other games, so Marathon Server Slam, which, let me say again, Marathon Server Slam, when the Server Slam come out over the weekend, it was free to play for anyone to play on Steam, and it could only get 140,000 players. That was free to play. 140,000 players played it. When the game officially come out and launch, which means you have to pay $40 for it, it only got a player count of 88,000. That was the all-time peak. So they did lose quite a few players from the Server Slam, but there is a steady stream. You got 63,000 players playing right now. But if we compare that to other games, ARC Raiders all-time player count is almost 500,000 players. Marathon on launch is only is almost 90,000. People playing ARC Raiders now is 200,000 players. Marathon 63,000. And then if we compare like Battlefield 6 all-time player count, look at that, 747,000, and their all-time player count, people playing the game right now, 55,000. And then Call of Duty Warzone, 500,000 people playing it, all-time player peak. And then as of right now, we've got 45,000 people playing it. So, and obviously, this is like me recording it quite late. I'm live streaming this quite. I don't know what time it is in America, of course, but it's quite late here in the UK. It's almost like 8 o'clock ish. But Marathon's numbers. I mean, Marathon, they have got more players than Battlefield 6 and Call of Duty at the moment. But I think over the next couple of days, or over the next 2 or 3 weeks, or the next month, we will see a slow decline in player count in Marathon. I don't think it can hold a sustainable. I think it will have a huge player count. I think it will have a decent chunk of players, maybe around 30,000 players. I think it could have a possible player count of 30,000 players. But over the next month, or the next 2 months, I think we'll see Marathon's player count slowly decline as people maybe get bored of the game and move on to something else. Because I played Marathon for an hour on the Server Slam, and from what I played of it, I thought it was quite boring. I've said this before, I thought it was quite boring. It seemed quite empty. Maybe that's changed. Maybe it has changed now. Maybe since launch they've updated the game, or they've changed the game, or there's new game modes on it. Or rather than a small squad of 3 players like you and 2 others, maybe it's like a squad of 5 now, I was saying. But yeah, when I was playing it, I was just basically running around the map, wasn't really doing much. You fight some enemies here and there, and that was it. I thought it was quite boring. I would rather play Call of Duty or Battlefield 6 or ARC Raiders. So, and plus, if Sony as well was hoping to compete against ARC Raiders, then they're falling off a cliff. I mean, it's only 60,000 players playing it, where ARC Raiders got 200,000 players playing it right now. So, like I said, we have to wait and see how Marathon turns out. Maybe it will turn out to be a solid game in the online shooting genre. Maybe it will turn out to be a decent game. Maybe it will have its place in there amongst other online games. But I think over the next 2 months, or month, or a couple of weeks, whatever, we will see a slow decrease in players in Marathon. I reckon Marathon will have a solid player base around maybe 20,000-30,000 players within the next 2 months. And that'd probably be like the real core of Marathon fans, which I don't know if 20,000 players, 30,000 players will be enough for Sony or Bungie to justify to keep this game going in the long run. But that's the latest news on Marathon. I'll continue to check up on this. I'll check back in Marathon in maybe a week or 2 weeks. We'll give it a week, unless anything big happens, unless there's any big news. For now, this is probably going to be it for Marathon. I'll check in with Marathon on the player count in like maybe 2 or 3 weeks' time. But yeah, Marathon, only 60,000 players right now. Can Sony justify that? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see what the real player count will be in a couple of months.